Instagram.
Alicia Keys. Alicia Keys. Click on me. Click on me. Click on me, Alicia Keys. Go live with Alicia Keys. Waiting for Alicia Keys. We are waiting for Alicia Keys. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm here.
Thank you for being so patient.
Yeah, I'll leave you.
Alicia Keys. Hi. Bye, baby. Thank you. That was my emotional and technical support wife, Alicia.
I'm so happy to see you, and I love hearing you sing "Girl on Fire."
Oh, geez, I am not. I will get over that happened.
That was
eventually.
amazing.
Thank you. Well, I am so thrilled that you're here, and my entire community is out of their minds that you're here.
I'm so happy to join your beautiful, gorgeous community. Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to jump in and talk about your amazing book that is like just ruined by me.
You have Post-its on it?
Oh, it's a Post-it book. It's a Post-it book. I actually wrote in it all over it because I just thought that Alicia would be okay with that.
I am so good with that. Totally.
So many notes, and I want to jump into it. But first, if you will allow me, I just want to tell you what you have meant to me and my family.
Oh.
I am a recovering addict. I've been sober for 18 years. I am a writer and an activist, and a couple of years ago, I left a marriage to my children's father, and I married a woman. And the last 2 decades have just been me trying to become more myself, right?
I hear you.
One long journey to be,
figure
out whoever the hell I was before the world told me who to be, right? And I tell my children all the time that I hope they figure out a little earlier than I did, that I want them to live with confidence. And I love that word because it means it's con and fid, which the roots of it are with fidelity, with loyalty to self, right? Just live with loyalty to the deepest self. And I just have a few North Stars that I point them towards. And you have always been one of them. Always. Wow. My kids, the way you show up in your life as a woman, as an artist, as an activist, I can't say it inspires is not even close to the right word. It's like ignites. It's like awakens, beckons.
Love that word.
Yeah, like I look at you and I don't think, okay, I want to be more like Alicia Keys, because that's not freaking possible, as we all saw just now. But you make me want to be more myself, is what I'm saying. So moving on, I've never done an interview like this, but when it came as a possibility to speak to you, I had a resounding yes. Yep. Because I needed to say thank you to you, and I needed to get this book in as many people's hands as possible, because it's a journey, but it's the journey of a woman who has learned to trust herself and be herself and unleash herself, and it reads as a roadmap. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you for those amazing words and for everything that you represent for us, and for just sharing your story and then seeing mine and relating to it, because that's the thing I think is so incredible, especially about this time that we're in right now. Is couldn't be more intense and more forthright for us to be looking straight in the mirror of ourselves and each other. And so when you can see that, and when you have that connection with another person who's also, we're all obviously trying to figure it out. It's really special. And so your words are really special to me, and they resonate with me, and I really appreciate them so much. So thank you for that.
Thank you for that, and thank you that I get to show my kids that you just said that. Okay. So moving right along, one of the things I'm so obsessed with in this book is that you can see the journey in it. Okay. So you can see that it wasn't always as easy as you make it look now to be your full self.
Girl, right? It's not easy now. Let's just let's just be fully clear. But thank you. Thank you.
So I have to read. I'm a book nerd, so I actually wrote down all of your words from the thing, and I just want to read back this because I think it's so beautiful. About how you felt when you were younger. There was a powerful urge in me, the desire to be liked. to be seen as the nice girl,
Mm.
to accommodate others, even if that meant dismissing my own needs.
Mm.
That tendency had been years in the making, sprouting up from a childhood spent as a chameleon, shifting constantly, and in a world in which women for generations had been conditioned into voicelessness, where their opinions are cast aside, the expectations being that they accommodate others and put their needs last. My boundaries were weak during this period. Can you just talk to us, Alicia, about how your boundaries have changed and about how you've moved on a little bit? I mean, not fully,
Yeah.
none of us do, but from people pleasing to yourself.
Yeah. Well, first I tried to figure out where was that coming from, and how do I become so concerned with everybody else over myself at all times. And look, is that a terrible thing, to be empathetic to people, to be concerned about what they're going through, to want to bring people joy, to want to bring them happiness? No, of course, that's a beautiful thing. But the challenge for me, and probably for a lot of us, comes when you can't find that line of, am I doing this to the detriment of myself? Which is what was happening. It was literally, it was like to the detriment of. It wasn't because I had some spare time and because it would have been a cool thing to do. It was like to the detriment of my own health, my own well-being, my own, my better judgment even, where you start to, you know already, and that instinct raises its hand and you ignore it because for some reason it feels like everybody else is more important than you. And I really still, to this moment, to this day, I fight with that, and I have to remind myself, stop it. It's all right. Like, you don't have to make everybody else, you don't have to fix every damn thing either. That's so, I've definitely learned that I don't have to fix everything. Everything doesn't have to be in a neat, organized row with a bow on top for me to like move on from it. And I think I've also recognized, in regards to how my boundaries and things like that, one of the things that I've started to ask myself that I really, really want to share, because I believe that we're taught that this is not okay, but I want to change that consciousness. The first question I will ask myself is, what's in it for me? And
okay, go ahead. More.
And I feel like we're not taught how to ask that question. We feel guilty if we're asking ourselves that, or that's somehow selfish, or that's somehow, wrong or whatever. And I really found that to be a guiding light for me, because if I can answer first, before we get to everybody else, let me first ask myself, what's in it for me? And if I can answer in a way that feels good for me, then go forth and go and do all the other things. And it's great, but there's nothing wrong with actually checking in with yourself first. So
that is life shifting. Just that question. I was listening to you on Dax yesterday, Dax's podcast, and you asked if he thought, well, let me just ask you what you think.
Yeah.
Is this a woman thing or a male thing?
So I asked him that because I feel like it's more of a woman thing. And when I say that, there's a good question that came up I want to go back to too. When I say that, I get a lot of resistance from men. They get very upset at me. Alicia, why would you say that? Like, that's not fair for you to assume that I also don't have this issue, or I don't feel this kind of pressure to please. And I think about it a lot because I'm raising sons. And so I'm always, and I think that God definitely did that on purpose for me, for sure.
yeah. Spend your whole life becoming a badass woman, and here are these boys, right?
And they have to see me, and I have to see them, And so a lot of times I think, like, man, and I think about them and I think about their sensitivities and I think how how tender they are, because they're 9 and 5, and I think about how all the time I'm fighting against them getting hardened into this place where they feel like they can't cry or they can't share or show, and we have this default thing that we do to everyone, but especially to our boys, like, don't cry, don't be soft, whatever this thing is that we naturally do, and I hate it. So I think that I still feel that it's more because of the nature of a woman, and because we're so nurturing, and because we are the mothers, and we are the, like, we're the caretakers, that there is a bit natural instinct for us to be more, caretaker-ish.
Yeah.
And it's by design that we put the children first, because they have to survive. It's how we're wired.
Right.
So I think there's a bit in there, but I do believe that there are men that also experience the same thing and struggle with it. And I would actually like more men to struggle with it, because I think that would signify that they're
join the struggle,
and that they're accessing a tenderness inside of them that they haven't been told to put away to be a man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe we're all trying to please, but we please in different ways. Like, girls are taught to please by being meek and accommodating and sexy and soft, and boys are taught to please by being tough and invulnerable and certain. So maybe we are all trying to please, but we just have different masks.
Right.
That culture puts on us.
Yeah, someone just wrote, like, it's a different struggle of the same, it's a different struggle of the same thing in a way, but 2 different versions of it, maybe.
Yeah. I call it getting tamed. Like, we all have our wild self that we're born with, and then we all over time get tamed by our culture into certain cages.
Hold on. You mean like that?
Oh, you're so sweet.
Man, that whole cheetah thing at the beginning was like, I was like, oh my gosh.
Right?
I've been to one of those and I instantly felt like bad about it as I was reading that beginning. I was like, she's totally right.
Oh.
Totally right.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations on your beautiful book as well.
And one thing I wanted to talk about with you that I loved in your book too is in your just more myself. I mean, my wife even read it. Like, serious. Okay. Is you talk in this book about your difficulty in the beginning in some of your early relationships to bring your full self to your relationships. And I think this is so interesting, Alicia, because I have so many friends who are badass out in the world, right? Bring their full self to their work, and then bring their full self to their art, and bring their full self to their activism. And then in their relationships,
terrified. In
their closest relationships, they're just in their homes. They don't do it. So, okay, you say of an early relationship, I retreated into the patterns I'd had since the beginning of our relationship. I didn't communicate my frustrations. I played the same record I'd played throughout my childhood, staying silent and pulling back in an attempt to keep things cool. When you don't speak the truth for years at a time, the words left unspoken slowly lead the air out of your connection. Even if years later you are ready to say what you couldn't earlier, the moment has passed. The details and circumstances have faded from memory, and yet the emotions linger. And then the day comes when you no longer recognize the person you once loved. Yes, to that. That is correct.
And I was so good at that. And that's why it's actually, I hear often from people, what are you talking about? Like, you've always seemed so in your skin and strong, and like you knew what you wanted and what do you mean that you felt this, And I think what you're expressing is exactly right. And there is this version of all of us, definitely me, that, I was so good at putting on the armor. I could put on the armor. I'm the best armor wearer you ever. I could put it on. I can make it look like it's easy. I can make it look like I don't care. And inside is all of these emotions or feelings that I actually didn't even know how to put to word, which is so crazy because here I am, I'm a songwriter. I write songs and I can't put it to word what I felt in those particular ways, or I didn't want to, or I didn't want to admit that I actually felt these ways, because if I admitted it, it would be true. And then if it was true, I had to deal with it. And if I had to deal with it, you know, then what am I going to do? Because I was busy anyway. I would rather have been busy than deal with all of these things that were surfacing inside of me. And because I was so young when I started, you know, I started when I was like 15 in the industry, and when things started happening, I was 18. And so I literally grew up in this world that was not even a real place, you know. Of course it's real. We're alive. We're all real. But, you know, it had these elements of falseness and things that were just not really true, or, you know. And so so navigating even that illusion that I think a lot of us we all are navigating some form of an illusion, you know, and so I was not good at speaking up. And I also, you know, grew up with I was raised by a single mother who's just amazing, but she's always been very opinionated. And so in order to kind of keep the peace, I sometimes had to just calm the energy down. So I didn't get practice of kind of being like, no, this is what I actually think. And I kind of, which I think we all do with our parents, we kind of like do what they say, and that's what we're supposed to do, right? And the parents are definitely not going to be like, now, Alicia, tell me how you actually feel in this moment. Like, nah, they're going to be like, do what I said you need to do and go.
I'll tell you how you feel. Yeah.
So it was really a hard process for me to actually express and say what I really felt, and not water it down, and not make it extra nice, and not politically correct it. That's another thing I did. Oh, I would always politically correct the way I said something. And it's like, how annoying. Like, stop making everything so damn digestible. Just start to try to practice how you feel. And that doesn't mean we have to do it with not kindness. You can actually say how you feel with kindness too. You don't have to be nasty to people. But sometimes you might have to be a little nasty, and that's okay too.
That's okay too. Alicia Keys, you guys, tells us we ask what's in it for us, and it's okay to be a little nasty. So I'm just going to summarize as we go. Okay? We'll get our takeaways written up when she has to go and do her other things. Okay. So there's a lot of parts in this. I mean, it's a love story. It's a love story between you and yourself. You know, it's a love story of coming home to yourself. And your love story with your husband, just forget it. I mean, there's so much of that in here, and it's so freaking beautiful. And to me, it shows the kind of love you can have, the kind of I love you can say when you have an I, right? When you know who you are, the way you can love and have built your I, you know?
Yeah. That's deep.
Yeah.
That was a gem.
Thank you. But there's one part that I loved so much, and it's about when you started to notice that you were being photoshopped on magazines, okay? Now, Alicia, I need to, real quick, before you talk to us about this, I need to tell you my photoshopping story, which is that a few years ago, Alicia, I saw a bunch of photoshopping things online, and I got really fired up, and I wrote a long letter about photoshopping and about how I am sick of women making other women, or media making women feel bad about themselves, and I refuse to be photoshopped in any way. And I sent it off to my sister. We work together, okay? And my sister called me and she said, okay, I got your letter. And I said, do you like it? It's like so fierce, right? And she was like, yeah, I like it. It's just that, like, no one's ever asked you to, like, be on a magazine or, like, asked to Photoshop you anywhere. So I'm not sure, like, what you want me to do with this letter. Like, do you want me to save it in case, like, someone ever asks us?
That's amazing.
What I'm saying is that when you actually took a stand about this, it mattered because it was happening to you. So
you're hysterical.
Let me just read this thing that you said, which I thought was so beautiful. You said, it stung. It felt like someone's judgment of me had been delivered in secret from behind a screen. We live in a culture where there's seldom space for imperfection, for celebrating our perfectly imperfect bodies. More time would have to pass before I realized how our society's oppressive standard of female beauty has left deep claw marks on me. That is beautiful. Do you feel like you have deep claw marks from the incessant and relentless messages from our culture that women are not perfect the way they are?
Hell yeah. And I think that we are, and I am, and I didn't realize, I mean, I know now more because I'm more paying attention and more awakened to these things. But, you know, I didn't even realize that I was actually subscribing to it myself, which I think we all do, because that's what we're shown, and we're painted a particular picture of beauty. And if we're not kind of living up to it, we don't feel right. And we judge ourselves so harshly, and we're so mean to ourselves. We don't have any patience or empathy with ourselves. Like, that's another thing I found myself doing. I'd have all this empathy for everybody else. I'd have all these excuses and these reasons why they were probably being these certain ways. But for myself, I couldn't take 2 minutes and have some empathy or to reflect and say, like, wow, I could see why you would feel like that. And in regards to the photoshopping story that you brought up, especially because, like, you do a thing and you go away and you think you feel good. You're like, oh wow, that was cool, that was nice, we had a good interview, felt like, you know, we put it together cool, and you know, you feel good, and then you get it back, and like your arm is half the size that it actually is, and then your leg, and then it almost looks like you have a bobblehead because they shrunk everything so much. So then it looks worse. It's like it gets, so anyway. And that's the part that I was like at least ask me. You know, if I chose it and I was like, you know what, I actually would like that.
Yeah. If you chose it
more like that, you know, then it's my choice. But don't choose it for me because you think it looks better, you know, and who are you anyway? So it's definitely a tricky thing. And, you know, it's a very American thing too. We do this, unfortunately, you know, we have a lot to work through, as we all know. Obviously, we can see it so clearly right now in this current state of the world, and we can see how much we have to work through, and we can see how much more we have to go. But definitely, I surely have constantly felt, I remember I found myself in a place where I was worried about just like going to the school to pick up my son in my baseball cap. I was like, wait, like, what if someone wants a picture? And that's like so superficial, like, ew, why would I even be thinking about that's the worst thing my mind could be on at a moment? Why not think about something more? And so just being honest, though, that's how it creeps into your bones, and you feel like as if people won't like you or won't find you beautiful in your natural state. And I think that's a lot of what we're all dealing with a lot of the times. And so, you know, whatever that means for each person is different. But for me, I definitely, at least I was aware that I kind of fell into that pattern, you know, and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, I get that. I have struggled. So a different situation, but I've struggled with food and body issues my entire life. And I told Abby recently, it tends to get worse when things are out of control. So like right now it's not great. And I told Abby the other day, I think I probably spend 50% of all of my thoughts all day thinking about freaking food and my body. And it makes me so infuriated because of the opportunity cost. Right? Because I am such a smart and powerful woman, and the opportunity cost of those thoughts, you know, it's like those cultural messages, when you said in my bones, they're like ground into myself. It's so infuriating. Okay, anyway, I need to respect your time because you are a busy woman and it's almost 4 o'clock. This is a hard time. And you need to know that, like, the way that you show up in the world and have for so freaking long, I know there's always the pressure to be amazing. And if you just stood and did nothing for the rest of your life and just radiated the Alicia-ness that you are always radiating. I mean, you need to host every show. Abby and I Abby and I sat. What was it, the last one? I don't know award shows. It was the Oscars. I only watched because you were doing it. Was it the Grammys? The Grammys, probably. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The Grammys,
So you are a minister. You were our national minister that day. You were. You were. You brought us together. The moment was holy as hell. Anyway, go do all the other amazing things you have to do. Everyone, get More Myself by Alicia Keys.
Oh, you're amazing. Thank you so, so much. And truly, I can't even tell you, we have not gotten this. This is our first time speaking, and I just adore it. And you can tell the people you're going to adore. You know how, isn't that so cool? You just feel it, you just know it. And you know, it's so important as a woman to see another woman being unabashedly, clearly living in their skin like how you do. Because I just think that so many times, you know, we think, and myself included, that we're supposed to put on some type of front or put on some type of guard or never let people in and never let the guard down and don't let people have an angle on you. And especially growing up in New York, like that was a big thing for me. Like you always had to protect and make sure nobody really knew you and they couldn't hurt you if they didn't know you. And all these things that you start to internalize and which is all fear-based, you know. And so for you to be so brave and beautiful and like welcome us all into all sides of you, it really encourages me as well to just continue to open and open and open and open. So really grateful for you.
That's what we're going to do. Okay, you guys, what's in it for us? Nasty. And then we're going to continue to open and open and open and open. Bam!
Bam!
That's it. We crushed it.
You're amazing. And
I love you.
And thank you. And everybody that tunes in, y'all are amazing and beautiful and gorgeous and unstoppable and spectacular. So let's just keep being that. Bang.
Yeah. More ourselves, everybody.
Yes. I'll see you, Glennon. Have a lots of love.
Bye, sweet
and be
Alicia.
safe.
Mwah, you too.
Bye.
Love.
You too.